A third of the millennials say church is boring. They prefer small groups to lectures. They have very short attention spans. They're multitaskers. Believe me, at my age, I don't understand multitasking at all. My daughter just graduated from Whitworth College, but she's done this multiple times to me. She will text me and say, "Dad, where are you at, or what are you doing?" And I'll text back, say, "What are you doing?" She says, "Oh, I'm in the middle of a test." And I think, what time did anybody ever in the middle of a text their dad, to just say what's going on, But she didn't miss a beat doing that. And yet, and we sit in church service together, and she will sit there, and she's got 3 or 4 things going on. I'm sitting there just concentrating entirely on the sermon, and we get out of it, and she's got way more of it than I do, because that's just what they've got the ability to do and where they're at. And so we need to take that into consideration. Prefer energetic environments, and they just thrive on visuals. There's 2 groups that really thrive on visuals, and it happens to be that group, and it happens to be men. And we're going to talk about the men's side of it in the future area of it. Ladies that are over that age group, visuals aren't all that important to you, is what the studies really show, and I'll explain why that is as we come into it. So really trying to look at worship experiences that have those kind of things. Now, you'll find that you can't put those things into the same box of what many of you have in your churches today. If you take your existing congregations and move them into one of these spaces you're going to look at, many of your people are going to say, "What in the world happened to our wonderful church?" I mean, that truly is what's going to happen. And we've watched that over and over and over again. It's just not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be what they want. Could we please sing some old hymns? Could we do this? Could we do that? And I'm really a believer that you can't put these 2 elements in the same box. You can't mix them on a regular basis every Sunday and make it work and grow your churches in what you're trying to do. And so most of our designs in the last 4 years, as we've realized this, have got multiple venues for worship in them. They just about all have a very, very refined worship area that the people that are in your church today would like a lot, and they would enjoy a great deal. And then they've got a space that's, a ceiling that's exposed structure, and it's a lot darker in there, and it's got a lot of different systems and a lot of different ways of happening, and it's a little louder, and it's got more chaos to it, I guess is how I would probably put it. And the numbers look something like this when we're doing them. We'll put in that kind of refined worship area, and it'll be it'll generally seat 150 to 300 people in that area. And then we'll have the one down we call these the Main Street sometimes, but it's basically the third place or the area out in front of the worship area. And we'll have another area that's a multi-purpose room down the way that'll hold 1,000. And that's where the other people will worship. Almost always they'll get that on video of the same exact sermon that's happening in the other room without change. It's coming over a live feed in the same exact area. Lots and lots of churches are doing that. Why? You can't ask me why on a number of items, because it's just the way it is. Why would somebody rather watch a pastor on video than watch them live if given the choice of the 2 things? I have no idea. That's just the way it is. And that group would rather watch it on video than watch it live. And one of the points they make in these big venues is they always watch it on video anyway. The pastor's there live, but they're watching the big screen. That because they can't see him very well anyway. But the one that really shows that up is Andy Stanley's ministry over in Atlanta, Georgia. He's got 2 identical sized worship areas. One he's live, one he's brought in on video. The music is the same, the worship is the same, everything is the same. There's a common wall between the two. The video venue will fill up 15 minutes before the live one will. You know, they're more comfortable in there, it's less formal, they feel like they could use their technology while they're in doing service. There's a lot of things that come behind all of that, but the fact is they really learn from that type of experience. What did I have on the list on the slide before this that they're looking for? Visual. It's how they've learned. It's what they've grown up with. It's where they're at. And this next generation behind them is going to be more of that. They're going to be significantly more than that. I mean, my 2-year-old grandson is as fluent on the iPad as I am. And I understand it pretty well. But he can take that thing and just about do anything he wants with it. What is that going to look like as he comes into that next generation? So those are some of the things that are important for us to look at as we go into it. We've answered that with spaces. This again is that large space. We changed in order to make change, we're doing things kind of interesting today. This one exaggerates that. It has 140 projectors on it, and all the walls are painted, but they're painted with a paint that we can project images onto. So we can change the mood of that room with one switch, basically, and change all the walls in the entire room when you come into it. That's true on a lot smaller churches. This is that same church in Lancaster that I talked to you about, the pastor. When we got to chair selection, he said, I just want a bunch of colors. Just scatter them throughout the whole space. The unorganized look is what will work. Again, it's been pretty successful. Multiple screens, ways to make those kind of things happen. These are just some different examples of interiors that we look at. Really almost concert type areas and things that go within it. There's different levels from, this being a little more sophisticated to some of the other ones less sophisticated, but they tend to take on that look. Pews are just about an absolute turnoff from the beginning. If you think you can keep the pews and keep anyone in those pews, it's just, you're up in the night and you're thinking, very honestly, in terms of what had happened. And I'm not even sure where the history of pews comes from, but it goes way back into, quite a few hundred years. I think the original thoughts of pews, from what I've been able to figure out, is that if we make them so uncomfortable that nobody can really like sitting there, they won't fall asleep. I think that's where it started. And then we took that and said, let's put some pads on them and let's make them a little better angle and let's make them a little more comfortable, but you kept the basic pew. But the fact is, we just about do nothing with pews anymore because these spaces are so expensive that we have to have multiple use. We've got to be able to set them up for other things besides just 1 2 or 3 hour period a week. And the new generations really don't care for them a great deal. So when we put in fixed seating like theater seating, that's done because we know we're going to use that for concerts, for meetings, for plays, and a whole bunch of things like that. When we have movable seating, we know we're going to use it for dinner banquets and different meetings and different things that happen within that. On the seminar I'm going to give this afternoon, we're going to talk about how do you enhance your income from your church by those things that you do within those spaces, and that can be pretty significant in terms of where you're at. We've got projects in California that have, the most is over in Escondido, a project that Larry Hilbers and us built a couple of years ago. They've got over $39,000 a month coming in income from their facilities that has nothing to do with tithing or offerings or any of the things that go with that. One of the things I think we've got to look at, based on the fact that we know our tithing is going to go down. we know the demographics are going to change those things and where they're at. So those are just some of the shots of what happens. Again, this is that same church. This is the second campus they had of Alpine Church over in Ogden. It's a 13,000 square foot area, fairly informal, and just has really been having a lot of people coming in. Sonora, California, Lexington, Kentucky,